welcome in to another episode of the Fantasy Roadshow. This episode is brought to you by Rule 1 Proteins. If you're looking to get back in the gym or just looking to re-up your supplement game, go check out Rule 1 Proteins. They got the best protein, the best supplements, the best vitamins, you name it, they got it. Go check them out at www.rule1proteins.com. Thank you for clicking on the video. Please like and subscribe to the channel. We have a very special group of people with us today. We are joined by the star we are. We have at Slam and Sammy, at Landry's Legend, at Jimmy J's Hair. Everybody, how we doing? How we doing?
Fantastic.
Great. Yep. I'm a little nervous, so cut me some slack if I say something crazy. I always get camera shy, so
we are not the group to be nervous with. I'll say that. Things may go off the rails at some point. That typically happens every episode, and we're just here having fun. We're just here having fun, so definitely do not be nervous at all. So I want to give a quick intro of kind of how we came across the star we are. I believe it was Jimmy J was on a Twitter space. It may have been like a Luke Sawhook Twitter space with Dez, and I think sounds about right. You talked at one point, and we were just starting the podcast, and like a vision that we've always had about our podcast is we want like a voice of the fan base from each fan base. If we are fortunate to, cover all of the teams, something we can check in on for off-season storylines. Once, the season gets rolling, we can kind of check in, get a representative of each fan base and kind of hear about, what's the talk, how your mindset is working through different scenarios throughout the season. And immediately I heard Jimmy J talk and was like, this guy's electric. We need him as our Cowboys guy.
I appreciate that, brother. Much love, man.
Yeah, absolutely. So slid in the DMs a while back, and here we are finally to get you on the podcast in the offseason. We're going to be talking Cowboys offseason storylines. Shane O'Mac is our resident Cowboys diehard, so it really fits well that he can kind of QB the conversation, and we can get into some good Cowboys talk here today. So excited to kind of reach out to Cowboys fans, and add a little bit of a fantasy mix in there as well. But I think we'll just jump right into it by getting a background. We'll start with you, Jimmy, just kind of, who you are, where you're from, how you ended up with your Cowboys fandom. And
absolutely. Yeah, so I was a native Arizona boy. Actually, I was born in Phoenix, the capital there, but moved to Texas pretty young. And as far as my love-hate relationship with these Dallas Cowboys, it began with my grandfather, who I'm named after. We were, I have to say, I was about 7, 8, maybe. We were metal detecting, got a birthday gift from him. It was the first time I met him, when we moved from Arizona. And so we found a little Dallas Cowboys keychain. He told me all about America's team, great coach Tom Landry. And then, of course, not too long after that, we go on to win 3 fantastic Super Bowls. And so I'm hooked. I'm locked. There's nothing you can do. You can't pull me off the hook now. You can go ahead and reel me in. I'm all the way there. I'm done. I'm on land. I'm flopping. Gut me. Cook me. I'm ready to go. I'm a Cowboys fan for life. So, that's basically how I ran into this train. And, yep.
Well, so I'll say my sports fandom, a big part of that, probably, I don't know if you can see the Bulls jersey behind me, but I was born in 91 in Chicago. So naturally my first moments of life is Michael Jordan hitting incredible shots, and I was hooked on sports. So I can relate to that. Absolutely. Landry, why don't you give us a rundown of your background and how you became a Cowboys diehard?
Yeah, it's pretty similar. Me and Coach Jimmy are about the same age, and so I'm about 6, 7 years old when my mom is dating and about to remarry, and my stepdad was a Cowboys fan and took me to a Super Bowl party in the winter of 1993 that we won by a landslide and then continued to win. So same situation. I was hooked since then, and I can deal with the ups and downs since. I've had to deal with the ups and downs since.
Yeah, I mean, at least like Cowboys are always in the conversation and playing meaningful football games.
That's what I'm interested in.
That's all you can ask for. I mean,
Absolutely.
Truck and myself growing up as Bears fans, we had a little bit of a spurt there in 05 was that Super Bowl, but
Yeah.
We asked Rex Grossman to lead us to a Super Bowl, so we saw how that played out. But
Brian Urlacher led us to a Super Bowl.
That's correct.
No, sexy Rexy, baby. So Sammy, give us we just talked before the show and found out that you may or may not be from in an area that's close to the podcast, but why don't you tell us where you're from and kind of how you became a Cowboys diehard?
All right. Well, I am from so lovely Wichita, Kansas. And so I can say I started rooting for the Cowboys at a young age. So my dad was a Miami Dolphins fan. Have no idea where that came from. But me and him were always so close and so competitive that I could not be a Miami fan. Like, it was against everything in me. And my mom, she was a Kansas City Chiefs fan. So I was like, okay, I'm not going to do that either. Well, my dad's best friend is a diehard Dallas Cowboys fan. And one day they started getting into an intense conversation about it. And I was like, you know what? That's the team I'm going to go with. And I can honestly say I was cheering for them when I had no idea what was even going on in the field. If I heard my dad's friend cheering, I was like, woohoo, go Cowboys. And then 2012, I started to watch a little bit, but none of my friends were into it, so I didn't have anybody support me. But 2016 was the year I really got started actually learning the sport and knowing what it was about, and now here we are. I'm excited to hopefully see an upside to this, except for getting my heart crushed every year, but just going to stick it out no matter what.
Now you're on a podcast talking Cowboy football. I love it.
Crazy how that works out.
I love it. I think a good segue would be to hear Shane talk about how he became a Cowboys fan. Just two people from Wichita falling in love with the Cowboys franchise.
Yeah, so I kind of had no choice. I was born into it. My whole family mostly was from Oklahoma, so you get a lot of Cowboys fans there in Oklahoma. And I just, even from an early age, it was, every year I was a Dallas Cowboy football player for Halloween. I've got pictures every year. It's a different jersey and different one of those kids' helmets that you hadn't done. So went to games in the old Cowboy Stadium as a young kid before, they transitioned to the big mega stadium they are now. But yeah, I have experienced all the highs and lows of, the early 90s before they hit, with a 1-15 season where their only win was against the Redskins at the time. And then the Super Bowl eras. And then afterwards, after the Troy Aikman era, I experienced I went and watched a game in person and got to watch the thrill of watching Chad Hutchinson play quarterback for the Cowboys in person. That was great. Quincy Carter era, all those awful years until we hit on Romo. So
I can just picture Shane dressing as primetime, strutting down the street, getting some candy on Halloween.
Yeah, that's outstanding. So I live in Texas. I lived in Houston about 5 or 6 years back. I guess that was before 17. It's from like 14 to 17. And now I currently live in Austin. I have not actually been to a Cowboy football game, but I've been to Jerry's World I went to LSU, as you can see on the headband. I went to LSU and I was in Jerry's World for Oregon LSU when Honey Badger blocked a punt and caught it as he was turning and ran it back for a touchdown. So I got to see that stadium. And it's fascinating. I'll say that. So, one thing I know Cowboys fans are a little bit, they tend to feel like the last few years hasn't been as fortunate for them. But as I was saying, they're always in the mix, always being talked about, playing for the division. So you can't be too sour. But
it's funny. You talk about the stadium too. One of the games me and what was it?
It was a Jets.
Was it the Patriots game? Jets game? Oh yeah, it was the home opener. A couple Jets fans were just literally, genuinely, like not even like not being sarcastic, just looking at us like, man, you guys are so lucky. This stadium is so nice. Like, I wish we had it like this. Your team's so good, man. I wish we were, like almost saying like, I want to be a Cowboys fan. Like, so yeah. It's
easy team to root for. Absolutely.
Sure.
Well, Shane O'Mac, why don't you get us into some of the offseason here, and we'll start talking through where the team's at. Last year was obviously a great year that, didn't end on, I guess there was one point that I would say that Cowboys were in the Super Bowl contending talk, and that kind of fell off. But why don't you give us where we're at now and what we're looking at here in the offseason building towards next year?
Yeah, so I think, what I would love to just do is kind of get your guys' opinions on first things first. So, disappointing in, I think for most people thought, even though it's third season of 12 wins in a row, but you know how it is after a disappointing, kind of somewhat surprising at home loss. Everything kind of focuses in on coaches. So I'd first just start off the bat. I'd love to get one of yours opinions on, were you pro keeping Mike McCarthy as head coach, or would you have rather seen the team made a more aggressive move with 1 year left on his deal and go after somebody else for head coach?
Tim, you can start on McCarthy.
What's that?
I was saying you can start on McCarthy.
I can start on McCarthy. You want me to go in on McCarthy? No. So for me, on a coach with a 1 year deal in general, just even taking the Cowboys and McCarthy out of the equation, just in general. After 3 12-win seasons, just no. Just no, because you've got to give the guy a chance to try to win 13 games, win the actual, 1 seed, and then let the playoffs come through AT&T, which I'm not going to say that is going to make or break a huge difference, but I think you have to. You just absolutely have to. Now, it's interesting as far as being aggressive. I think the aggressive move is almost making them play it on a 1 year deal, because now you're putting them in the decision, especially for a guy like McCarthy. Don't perform well. It's not like other teams this is already your second run, your second stint at it. It's not like other teams are just going to maybe jump off the ship to go, we want McCarthy as our head coach. There may be a couple bottom feeders that will, so he probably will have a job, but for him, it's almost like playing for more money and playing for a contract, playing for more clout, another ring, so making him play his last year of life, so to say, in Dallas, I think is the aggressive move, because you're forcing his hand, and you see what he does with it. And then you don't have to worry about moving off of him. It's already over, so that's kind of where I sit on McCarthy.
Okay, Landry.
Glad to move off of Dan Quinn. There was a lot of statistics and a lot of flash, and early on in the season, looking like potentially the best defense in the league, but the play calling and the way he operated towards the end of the year, which almost set me up. I wasn't ever going to say it out loud, but really felt the playoff game coming. So I was, on that side of the ball. I'm not, I haven't delved all the way into Mike Zimmer, and I'm going to need to see how he wants to draft and so forth to make any kind of opinions on what he could bring. But I was ready to see Dan Quinn go.
And were you okay with keeping McCarthy for his last year?
Yeah, the McCarthy, I stepped out a second on me there, but in terms of keeping McCarthy, yeah, pretty much. I think I know what Coach was saying. You put the onus on him to really perform this year, so give him that last chance.
Okay, Sammy.
Good news there. I'm just going to chime in real quick. Is McCarthy's on a 1 year flyer, and you still have Ben Johnson, who didn't sign anywhere. You still have Bobby Slowick, who didn't sign anywhere. Obviously Belichick, Vrabel. So there will be options next year.
Mm-hmm.
You didn't lose out on some of those young offensive minds, or the guys that can come in and have a disciplined culture. So anyways, that's my 2 cents.
Yeah, and here's a guy who's won a Super Bowl before and just had done nothing but have 12-win seasons, like we said. So it's not like he's been unsuccessful, or there's a ton of options out there you would just jump all over.
Yeah, there's also an aspect of I think Jerry likes to have some control. He likes to have that, like, someone that works well with him, that he can kind of have the final say. And like, you're not going to get with that with Belichick. I highly doubt that with Vrabel. So they seem to have that chemistry there. It's just getting the team and personnel over the hump.
Okay.
I totally agree.
So for me, I kind of have to say I agree. I think that him being capable of taking us to, more wins than lost seasons is great. After that ugly Green Bay loss, I was a little questionable. I know it wasn't all on him. But I am such a soft-hearted person. I like to have faith in each and every person until there is no faith to be given, and that's my downfall as, well, Cowboys and football fan in general. I think he's capable. I think he just has to figure out the exact game plan that works for him, and we're finally going to get something together. I kind of hope that, I don't know, the chemistry he's been able to build with the team, the relationships, like you guys have saying, that we're going to actually be able to do something all the way. I was really, really hopeful last year. I cannot tell you how many people I argued with saying that. Typical Cowboys fan, this year is our year. I can honestly say I'm a little less excited for this year, but once again, this is me going to say I have to put all my faith in the team and see what magic we can come up with.
Yeah, I want to kind of piggyback off what you just said there, a little less excited, because it is, right? Because this is a weird offseason for us, because it was even after 2 years of losing to San Francisco and after 2 seasons of not getting where we wanted to, we came into last season with still the highest hopes. Like, oh, we went ahead and signed Diggs. This offseason looks great. We added Stephon Gilmore. We added Brandon Cooks. Like, no, this really can be the team. We were looking at everybody in camp and the way we were performing and practice, and people coming out of the locker room going like, yeah, we're going to the Super Bowl this year. Like, this roster and this coaching staff is crazy. And it was, right? Like, we were a front running, heavy loaded, ready to whoop anybody by 30 type team that still, for a lack of better terms, burnt out in the same fashion. So
yeah, that
it
injury
was hard to watch.
That Diggs injury took a toll on the defense. Guys stepped up.
Of
still,
course.
when you lose a guy like that, you saw it with the Bills too, right? When they lost Milano and Tre'Davious White, like, those are stars. Those are guys that are not easy. People can step up, and it's great to have that heading into next season. A guy like Bland step up the way he did, and then him gaining that confidence. And like next year with Diggs back and like some of those guys playing those roles where they step up, that could benefit you for next year and in the long run for sure. But as a championship, having that championship feel and then undergoing a kick to the nuts like that, that's a lot to overcome. I think honestly, this was my take on the loss to the Packers, and I think it's selfishly, I think it's a pretty good one. Is that LaFleur coming out and asking to receive that ball with a fan base like the Cowboys, who are already they had everything to lose in that game, whereas Packers were the young team. LaFleur getting that ball and scoring in that stadium causes a little bit of anxiety in the fan base, that otherwise, if Cowboys get that ball and they march on the field and score, that building's like, all right, this is home game, home Cowboys. We are rolling. So to be able to flip the script, and you're gambling on like not scoring that opening drive, but with a young team and needing to instill that type of confidence and get that kind of feeling throughout the stadium, that caused the sidelines to get a little bit anxious too, right? Like, oh, here we go again, another big game, Cowboys lost. So I thought that was a genius move by LaFleur, and that really set the tone in that game. And, unfortunate end of the season, but a lot to build on and a lot to look forward to for this season, I think. Even just winning the division, right? Like, the Eagles were humming, and at one point last year people thought Eagles are in the Super Bowl again. And like we saw how things unfolded with them, but to have the Cowboys step in and realize they can win that division and go toe to toe with them, I think that's just a huge thing to build on for this year.
Yep.
Yeah, and what's crazy about that game is that like people don't realize like Dallas played, I think it was all but like 7 snaps with 6 defensive backs on defense. And one of those linebackers that was playing was 210 pounds. It's just not an ideal situation. So that let me transition from that into kind of like strengths and weaknesses of the roster. I don't want to talk about the big quarterback talk quite yet. But to me, I just want to get your guys' thoughts on if you kind of agree. To me, I think it's obvious. There's kind of 3 main areas. I think linebacker, obviously. I think the offensive line is getting older and we have free agents there. And then maybe a third is running back position. So kind of, I'd like to we can start with Landry this time. We'll just go across. If you kind of agree, or if you have any other weaknesses you think of the roster currently as we head into free agency.
No, you just said linebacker, running back, with the exception of that offensive tackle, even though I agree with it. It's like if you were asking me the first 3 picks I'd like to see us make in the draft, it would probably be linebacker, running back, and defensive tackle, just because I feel like we need more of an impact player and they're available in this draft. But I 100% agree with the O-line. It's just I think there's pieces that are still there to work with. Free agency, you could probably fill that out. Later round picks, I think you can find something. So, I mean, I'm right on board with those. We could go in depth on any of them, but that's right on the money.
Yeah, that definitely sounds about right. I think I'm not going to be totally out on what Zimmer can do with Mozzie as far as in the DT position goes. It would probably be 4th on my total needs. It is a need as far as building our defensive line to what we want it to be, and to definitely be able to stop the run and not let Aaron Jones happen in the playoffs and things like that. Because when you really want to break it down, if you were to just if you just wanted to add 1 and 1 together, we couldn't stop the run. We couldn't really run it well. So when we didn't run into games where we weren't in the lead, you're completely out of your own comfort zone and out of your own wits, and then that's when you start getting handled. That's when you get beat up on. And so that's almost what happened in week 5 against San Fran, and it's definitely what happened against Green Bay. So what I would really like to see is honestly a trade back. I would like to bolster a 2nd and 3rd round by maybe moving back and taking BPA at a top 3 need a little later in the first. Let somebody like a Buffalo, let somebody come up for a few picks and throw a 3rd in there. Then you give yourself an option in the 2nd to really jump and make a move on Tavondre Sweat if he's still available, on somebody really, really just outstanding, on another linebacker, an Edgerrin Cooper if he's still there, who I'd like to see out of A&M. So I think I'd like to see the move back play. I don't think it'll happen. I think in the 3rd round, we do need a running back. As much as I would still like to see Tony Pollard be in our mix, because I know what he can offer as a 1-2 punch of a running back. We already seen it. When he was a 1-2 punch running back, PFF's numbers, he was the best running back in the league on all metrics. So I'd like to get him back into that role and stop trying to be – we didn't need to turn him into something he wasn't.
Now, Jimmy, real quick, if I could jump in. Any running back stand out to you that you think fits your scheme the best and what you want your running back to do? Who's on the top of your list?
He played for Oregon. You guys probably know him pretty well, Mr. Irving. Oh, Bucky. So that's who I'd really like to see. And you know what? And I think he's available there at 3. He's the type of running back with this amount of running backs and this kind of draft and the players that are available. He may be there at 4, but I really think here's what I like about him. This guy averaged 4.9 yards per carry after contact. So every time he touched the ball and absorbed contact, he averaged almost 5 yards after getting touched for the first time. That's what that's what our running backs for the last 2 years couldn't do well, is take hits and keep moving. So when you give me that number and then an explosive Tony Pollard, that's the only number I needed to see from that kid. And then when you just watch film on him, he's obviously lightning. So yeah, Bucky Irving's my guy.
I love that.
Okay, so let's just stick to, we talked about running back. Let's talk about free agency with running back. I'll start with Sammy because I know from looking at her online presence, she is definitely pro Tony Pollard. So
Forever.
Do you want to see Pollard brought back on let's call it a 1 year, $5 million or 2 year, $12 million deal?
Yeah, let's talk about what we're paying before she says yes.
See, okay, so I have come to even just a 1 year, $4 million deal. I mean, that's the lowest I'd be willing to go. I love him. Tony Pollard forever, probably almost any team he goes, I would root for him. No Eagles, no 49ers, nothing crazy like that, though. I think, too.
We have standards,
We still have to, yeah. I think, though, that everybody's seen how bad he was at the beginning, last year, but coming off a bad leg injury, I don't know. This is just me. Why everybody expected him to be the amazing guy he was the year before. I mean, a leg injury is a lot to come back from, especially breaking a bone. Like, I can't. So
I rolled an ankle playing basketball about 5 years ago, and I still feel it.
See, yeah, I've had 2 knee surgeries on my meniscus, and I swear I'm an old lady now. But I think after week 11, when he even admitted he started to feel like himself, he was starting to get back into the zone, into what we know he's capable of. And I think this year, I think he wants it. I think he's going to be able to be that man we need. I wouldn't put past drafting another running back, though, because I don't know about Rico. I don't know. He was there when we needed him, but I think we could do better.
Shane, don't listen to that. Close your ears.
Sorry. I'm so
you're a Rico guy? For me, I'm kind of right there with you, Shane. Sorry, go ahead, Sam.
No, you're okay. Go ahead.
Okay, yeah, I was just gonna say, Rico, he knows the system really well. He showed some flash last season. He really did. There was some runs where he popped off, and I was like, man, that was a burst. That was a I'm hungry burst. And so I definitely seen it in him, and he knows our system really well. So, what are you trying? Are you saying, Shane, that we don't need to even look into the running back market? We need Dowdle 1, Pollard 2. Is that
No,
he said no.
No, I think that something's going to have to change. I do not buy in. You guys can chime in if you agree or not. I do not think the Jerry, we are all in this year means that they're going to go after one of the top guys like Barkley, Henry,
Josh Jacobs,
Eckler, right? Josh Jacobs. I just don't see that happening at all. So in my mind, what I think happens is you bring Pollard back on a 1 year, $5 million deal. And then you draft somebody in that third round, probably to be a compliment to him.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And it's unfortunate too. And I think what we might actually see with free agent running backs this year, minus Saquon, with the exception of Saquon, because of what, excuse me, guys, just coming over a little illness a couple days ago. But because of what Saquon can give you if he is 100% healthy, you can almost bet he's one of the best 2, if not 3 backs in the league, guaranteed. If he's healthy, he's elite pass catching in all of the aspects that you want. So with the exception of him, I think you may see running backs fall into the draft, like free agent running backs. They may be post-draft signings. There may be guys, especially like a Derrick Henry. You could see somebody signing him at camp. Okay, who's really desperate for a running back now? So, and because we already see what the market is doing to running backs, franchise tags were 10 million, and teams are going, I'm not even going to use my tag on one. I don't even want to pay 10. So it's tough with the running backs. And you know what? You can blame it on Kareem Hunt and Andy Reid, because when Kareem Hunt came in and was rookie of the year, and then had a great second year, and then got into some trouble, and Andy Reid drafted another running back, and then went Damon Williams, and now it's all, who is it? Clyde Edwards-Helaire, and then now we're on Pachinko, and it works. So running backs, they're going to have to. Sorry, Mike. They're going to have to all go to Cabo in August. All of them, every running back in the league. Go do what Zeke did. Go hang out in Cabo, start a big party, and just stay there for a month, and then you're all gonna get paid. Trust me, but that's the only way it's gonna work.
Hey, Jimmy, how about you and I? We can host the party in Cabo. I'm not against going down
I'm
there
down for that.
Going down there, throwing something like a tight end. We can be the driving force behind that. Spend some time in the sun.
We'll reach out to some running backs and we'll get the we'll get the train started. We got to have a running back sit out. That's the only way it's going to go up. I mean, Josh Jacobs might get a good deal because the volume we know he can carry the ball at and stuff and what he's shown. But other than that,
it's going to be interesting. Running backs are that's the hard position to predict here in free agency. For me, I'm not as close of a Cowboys. I still watch every football game regardless. So, but I'm not I don't know traditionally what they do in this situation is guess what I'm trying to say. But someone like Joe Mixon who might get cut by the Bengals, is there a possibility that you can bring in a Joe Mixon at a relatively cheap number? A guy who's won games and you don't need him to really do too much. And then you have Pollard still be that big play guy. Is it like a Zach Moss, had success last year, but he's not going to demand just what the running back market is. He's not going to cost that much. Is it a guy like Devin Singletary who's had success? That's to me what the Cowboys need. And hopefully we were hoping that was going to be Dowdle last year. I just don't know that he can carry that kind of load, but someone that can go in and get you that early down work, those 4 to 6 yard runs and kind of get the offense going, to open up the passing game. And then, Pollard come in there for his big playability, get 15 touches a game, and you see him score a touchdown and break some of those big runs. So it'll be interesting. There's guys like that out there, right? So that's what I think's the good news there for the Cowboys. But yeah, I'm actually kind of going to look a little bit deeper, but I could see one of those Moss, Singletary, potentially Mixon would be an interesting ad there. So I don't know. That's
and see that, and that's kind of what I was alluding to is for the plethora of names you just mentioned and the quality of backs that are going to be available and that can come in and be serviceable and put in a season for you. They're just going to be there to be had. And somebody tried to hang me for it about 4 or 5 years ago. I said, running backs come a dime a dozen. And I'm not shaming the athlete or shaming these guys as what they do as a skill set or anything. I'm just saying when you start at a young level, they touch the ball a lot. So running, everybody wants to play it. So that skill position is just going to be full of people who can do it. And so it's just one of those things. Now, I kind of want to kick it back to Shane and go ahead. And you had asked us about the draft and coming up and our biggest needs and what we'd like to see. Just shoot it kind of right back at you. Where's your thoughts and where's your mind frame on that?
So kind of when I had posted on Twitter I think it was last weekend, and it was my first 3-round mock. What I had going offensive lineman. So with my pick, it was Mims from Georgia, the offensive tackle. I think there's a good chance that Tyron Smith's not back. Even if he is back, he's not probably staying healthy the whole season. I think we need to get younger on the line. So it could, whether if it's Mims or it's a Jackson Powers Johnson from the center from Oregon, or Barton, the offensive lineman from Duke, who can play all 5 positions. Our center is a free agent this year. There's a chance we lose him. I think one of those centers would be an upgrade over Tyler Biotish anyway. So offensive lineman would be a target. I think there's going to be some good ones. Mims is a physical specimen. And even though he's a little raw, he's only started 9 games. After what I saw with Tyler Smith, when he was in the same boat where he was very raw, people thought, he wasn't, maybe should be drafted where he was, but he was a physical specimen also. I'm a little bit more willing to take that risk now and see that on a physical specimen like that. And then you mentioned Cooper, the linebacker from Texas A&M. That's who I had going in the 2nd round. That's a big need. And then 3rd round was running back, whether if it's Bucky from Oregon or it's Benson from Florida State. I'd rather take a guy in that 3rd round as opposed to pulling in a lower tiered running back like a Gus Edwards or Singletary. I'd rather take a chance on that third round running back that could materialize then into a guy that then replaces Pollard the next year or whoever that person is.
Yeah.
But so real quick, let's then go in real quick. Let's talk a little bit on linebackers. And to me, I'm just curious on your thoughts. This is an area where I could see with Mike Zimmer coming aboard as defensive coordinator, and he does have a focus on, he's got a prototypical size he likes at linebackers. I could see maybe this would be an area where they spend some money. They make some moves, some restructures, some cuts that frees up some money to maybe go after some of those free agent linebackers, whether if it's a Willie Gay. I don't think they would probably be able to pony up for Patrick Queen for Baltimore.
No.
But there's other ones out there. This is where I think they could spend the money at, or even, if it's not one of the top tier guys, it could be a lower tier guy like Jordan Hicks, who has experience with the Vikings and would probably be cheap on a 1 year, $3 or $4 million deal. But Landry, we'll start with you. Kind of think, if there's somebody you think the team would go after the linebacker and spend money on that position this offseason.
So since the playoff loss, there's a little period of mourning for me. So I probably haven't gotten deep enough to look at available players, like truly available players in cost and who I realistically think the Cowboys could sign. I just know the type of player that we're missing, that we need at that linebacker position, because we played with, like you mentioned earlier, we played without them for the second half of last season. LE was what he was and was a solid player, but without him, it became, no linebacking course. So I just need size. I just need somebody who's built to run downhill and tackle running backs all game. You said you ran through a couple of names
There's a Willie Gay. There's Frankie LeFou from Carolina.
Devin White.
Ellis Shire. Devin White. I'm not a big Devin White guy. I think Devin White is great.
Shut your mouth right now.
Devin White from a linebacker position is great. He has great metrics when he is blitzing. His grade versus the run last year was not good at all. So that is a guy that's more on, in my mind, name value than production value last year. If you really go in and look, so that's not a guy I'm
yeah. And I actually like him, but as much as me and you may like him, I don't think he's a Zimmer guy. So I don't think he's a guy Zimmer would even, because that's going to be when you look at these free agents and you look at what we can get in the draft. Mike's on his last year and has kind of, we already seen. Dan Quinn kind of got his way. We've seen it with Marinelli, right? We've kind of seen Will McClay and the defensive coordinator really get to pinpoint, really get to put their hands in the draft. We've seen that happen over the last several years. We've seen Marinelli guys. We saw Quinn guys. We're going to see a Zimmer guy out of this draft, probably 3, that are specifically his prototype. Cooper does fit that mold, which is why I think a lot of us are on board with that. A guy who I absolutely have gotten 100% sold on lately, and I had to go watch a 20-minute, film reel on him to really see what is the hype about. Peyton Wilson is an absolute animal of a linebacker. Yeah. I'm not even watching him. I'm not mad if he's our first round pick, honestly, because I think he may even need a year to be what we want now, but. He's a LVE / Sean Lee type hybrid to me. He's stellar.
But I'm saying it's got to be both. The guys you like in the draft are fine, and draft one of them, but also in free agency, it's a bit of an overhaul there. I would like to see.
Yep.
Yeah.
I'd like to remind Shane real quick. This was 2021 Super Bowl against the Kansas City Chiefs. The Buccaneers won 31-9. Mm-hmm. Devin White had 12 total tackles, 8 solo, 2 tackles for loss, a pass defended, and an interception.
What year was that? 2021? Oh yeah, 2021. Yeah, that's 2 years ago. I'd like to go look at PFF's grade from last year, though.
Just saying,
where that game that came from, you're describing right there, that game.
Yeah. Yeah, I think the other thing I could see them doing is bringing in a bigger established, an older vet like a Bobby Wagner is going to be available. You know, you've got a Bobby Wagner to pair with a Peyton Wilson or to pair with a Cooper and go that route.
I was with that a year or two ago.
Yeah, for me, if you can tell me that we can roll into next year with Wagner, Cooper, or Wilson, right? Damone Clark and DeMarvion Overshown, I'm okay with that. Like, give me those 4 linebackers. I'm okay with that. You know, I understand Bobby Wagner is getting there of age, but he was still the highest or second high. He was up there in, you know, run grade last year. He's always is, and he's the kind of guy that can teach.
I got the numbers right here. Bobby Wagner run grade 92.7 last year. Devin White 29.7.
Oh,
we're on the money with that.
Interesting.
I didn't listen to a single word you said. I have ADD, so unless I'm like looking at you, I don't hear
wait,
it,
what time? 41:01. I'm going to make a note of this so we can clip this for the show and make sure we have that highlighted. Got it. Okay.
Did you get rid of him? You got bad at him? You
No, I'm good.
Okay, guys. So real quick, since we're 41 minutes into the show, and we haven't talked about the elephant in the room for the Cowboys. The biggest topic in the offseason, obviously, Dak Prescott. Let me just really quick, let me give you my soapbox. Like, what really grades on my nerves is I just heard it this week, and I'm gonna call him out on the Colin Cowherd show. You know, Colin, some of these national sports talk shows, they just spout off stuff with just no background knowledge so, you know, what he was saying is, you know, there's no way you just pay him $60 million a year. You should cut him and you go sign Baker Mayfield for $30 million. And then you've got all this free money up to sign Mike Evans and whoever, without any realization that it's not feasible of cutting him, what that would do to the cap for not only this year, but for next year. You know, the fact is, like, Dak really, really won the negotiations 4 years ago with Jerry Jones. He got a 4-year deal instead of a 7-year deal. He got them not to include the franchise tag. He got them to include not the trade clause. So he has all the leverage right now that he's not going to give up. So real quick, we'll go right from left. Landrew, start with you. What are your thoughts on Dak? What do you want to see happen, that the team do? And then we'll move over to Jimmy after you.
So my general thoughts on Dak are pretty straightforward. I get pretty upset with Cowboy fans who immediately, you know, if they see a hat, a shirt, something I'm wearing during the offseason, that's the first thing they want to talk about. And I just, my thing for them is immediately, I would love to know the available quarterback that you would rather have, you know, than Dak Prescott, because Pat Mahomes isn't for sale. And
you guys got Trey Lance waiting in the wing, don't you?
Right. Yeah, we have Trey Lance. You know, and that's what I'm saying. He has done nothing but win. He's got one of the highest win percentages since he's been in the league. There's a whole lot more to it in terms of the playoff failure. So immediately, Dak Prescott is the option right now. An answer that I think he can win the Super Bowl, but that's not neither here nor there. They'll have to do it. But in terms of putting a football team together, that's what you've got right now, and you got to roll with that. I couldn't even speak to the numbers because I don't have any idea how they're able to do some of these things financially when they spread this money out and, you know, move it to here and there and convert to signing bonuses. So it'd be hard for me to give you numbers. I agree with you that Dak's got all the leverage though, and he'll probably be the quarterback in Dallas for at least 4 more years.
And that's the number that I think scares me the most because, like you said, he won the negotiations. I mean, it wasn't even. Jerry never left. You know, he heard the bang of the gun for the race to start and fell over, and Dak was already at the finish line as far as the negotiation race. So we can't let it be a 4-year extension because then we're here again in 4 years because he's going to perform well for the next 4 years. If we get him coaches and we get him players, he's going to win 10 plus games. He's going to beat up on the division like he usually does. And we're going to have to pay him again because we all know how hard quarterbacks are to find. So what I want to see us do, if we can't get 6 to a 10-year extension out of him and just make him a lifer, like we know he wants to be a Cowboy for life. He's said that since he was 14. So let's not beat around that bush. Let's make him a Cowboys for life. And let's do it for the next 10 years. Let's pay him an absurd amount of money. I don't care. And then we'll go from there, and we'll cross the bridge 3-4 years from now if he starts winning 6 games a season and can't even get us back to the playoffs, right? Because one team gets to win it every year. I can't deal with the swap your quarterback. Not an MVP runner-up, not 12 wins for the last 3 years, not a guy who broke his leg and then come back and started to look like, he's looked like an MVP 3 or 4 years that he's played. Had one of the better rookie seasons we've ever seen outside of newly born CJ Stroud.
And just had his best year. And just had his best year of his career.
And coming off one of his cleanest, best, what do we need to do? Fix interceptions. Did that. Well, you can't get rid of that. Absolutely not. So you've got to pay the man, and you got to pay him a lot. If you can't, though, I would rather than a 4-year deal, make him play it out.
Oh, sure.
Make him play it out. Because we can't be right back here again. Discussion negotiation. We'll pay you all this upfront money. I mean, do the $500 million Mahomes deal. 8 to 10 years. Get it done. Over with.
All right, Sammy, let's get your thoughts.
Okay, so I have to agree a lot with Landry. I think that, he is the best, especially of what we have available. I loved him last season. Like, I was amazed because I hate to say it, but a couple years before that, I was very questionable on him. I was not sure he was going to be the one to bring us to where we need to be. But obviously I grew up, had a wake up call, and realized that, he's good for us. I think with the adjustments he's made, like with interceptions, I think he's finally getting brave after that ankle or leg break to run the ball again. And I loved seeing him run down the field last year and just springing into action when we really needed him. And I think, kind of to touch in on that Jerry Jones all-in, my opinion on that is he's going to try to rebuild us a little bit. And I think Dak has that stability to be able to build around in all the other positions. So I don't know about contract-wise what we should do. I think at least 4 years would be a good call, if not all in, like Jimmy said. But I never thought I'd say it, but I think Dak is the guy for us. I mean, I don't know.
He's going to have to help us out, though. Like when you talk about he's got all that leverage, he also has, if he's going to be there for 6-8 years, it's on him to decide how much he wants to leave him to pay people. He's taking the biggest cut of the entire team. So
and that's, go ahead.
Yeah, no, I was just curious, I'd like to also, Coles and Truck, get your guys' thoughts outside Cowboys perspective, because I have a feeling Dak is it worked well the first time. And I think he's going to do it again this year, where he's going to say, guys, the max I'm going to do is 3 years, because I want to be 34 years old and come back here in 3 years and do this all over again. So Coles, Truck, if it's 3 years, 180 million, if you're Jerry, what are you doing in those? Give us an outside Cowboys perspective.
Yeah, I mean, I'll start. You got to give him the contract. Dak has just played better than the majority of quarterbacks in the NFL over the last however many years, and it is hard to find a quarterback. So Dak is your best option right now. Pay him, give him. I'm sure Dak, like you said, wants the short-term contract. That's the better option for his career path, and you got to pay him. But I just had a quick question, Jimmy. Can you identify anything to credit to Dak having one of his best years? Is it Mike McCarthy calling the plays? Is it the addition of a Brandon Cooks, or is it his cadence that really set him apart this year? I'm just curious.
So you know what? You actually probably just named the reasons in that order, right? Because it starts with your head coach, the game plan, becoming your offensive coordinator, and what he can implement and do to get the best out of you. Then it comes secondary. What weapons are at your availability? Well, who are you throwing it to, and are they open? Separation they're creating, hands they've got, all those accessories. And then thirdly, what are we doing pre-snap, which is a lot of cadence. I mean, you absolutely just killed it, brother. You just gave every reason in order and importance. So, yeah, you answered it for me.
Okay.
I'd like to say, but before you start kissing Truck's ass a little bit too much, let's keep in mind that he swore off the Bears at one point this year.
God, you bringing this up?
Decided to be a Cowboys fan with Shane, and then they immediately went on a 2 or 3 game lead.
Next week, Trayvon Diggs immediately
Diggs.
his ACL injury was done for the year. So.
Yeah, I'm kind of a mush when it comes to fandom. The Bears, we all know their track record. So I swore off the Bears early this season. I'm like, we them boys, let's go Cowboys for the rest of the season. And then our next episode, Diggs out for the season. I'm like, oh god,
that was hard. Bears fans travel. I know that. Last time we played you guys in AT&T, you guys showed up.
Wild.
Yeah.
That was the loudest Southern fan base I've seen. San Francisco, maybe, but yeah.
So here's where I'm at with Dak. I went to LSU from 09 to 13, and he was maybe the only person I saw come into Tiger Stadium and win. So fuck Dak. No, I'm kidding. that just honestly is a testament to him as a winner. I think so much of the quarterback position is someone that can lead a team to war and gets the entire team to buy in. So he has that ability to, win over the locker room, instill that confidence, and dig really deep with his guys and win games. And I also think that Jerry Jones is the kind of owner that will take care of his guys. So for me, it's more of a conversation with those two getting in a room and being like, all right, Dak, understand you want to get paid. You deserve to get paid. We want to make you a Cowboy for life. That being said, across the league, these guys that are winning championships, they're getting creative in their contracts so that we can put the right pieces around you and in a team to win. So how do we do that? And I think they have a good enough relationship that conversation exists, right? He deserves to be one of the top paid quarterbacks. How do we structure this? How do we structure this quarterback or this contract so that you're a Cowboy for life? You're getting paid what you deserved. And how does that happen? It happens in every franchise. So I think you have that whole formula that exists where it's you have the quarterback, the proven winning franchise quarterback who just had his best year. You have the owner that it wants to win and is willing to, always have his guys back. And then they both want to win championships. So let's figure out a way to make that happen. And your contract's going to be a big, important part of that. So how do we do that? That's the conversation that needs to happen. How does that happen? We don't know. We're not in those rooms. I don't think any of us can really speak towards the contract. There's always they find extra room in restructuring deals. The cap space in the NFL is crazy, right? I don't know that any of us can speak in detail of how they just make money appear every year.
It's fake.
So pay Dak, and then on a year-by-year basis, we'll have a gentleman's agreement that we're going to make it work to build a winning franchise or a winning team year after year. So it's hard to kind of get into the weeds, I feel but yes, make him your franchise quarterback, a Cowboy for life, have his jersey hanging in the rafters someday, and let's win 2 Super Bowls, 3 whatever, So that's kind of how I think that conversation has to go and will go, because again, it's a well-run organization and they take care of their guys.
Well, they'll pay them. People just have to realize they literally can't do much at all in free agency without a Dak extension when it's counting $60 million against the cap. I mean, they're hard up against it. So real quick, I just want to run through some of the internal free agents and just real quick run them through you guys. If there's anyone you feel from this list that the Cowboys have to make a priority to re-sign, which they have a tendency to do this, some of their internal guys. So
Sammy's answer, Tony Pollard. Yes.
Yeah.
We know Tony Pollard.
Yes,
That's
absolutely.
But let's talk, there's 3 kind of key members in the secondary. You've got Stephon Gilmore, you've got Jordan Lewis, you've got Jaron Curse. On the offensive line, you've got 2 starters in Tyron Smith and Tyler Biadasz. And then obviously we talked about Pollard and Dowdle. And then on the defensive line, you have some starters. You've got Gallimore, you've got Hankins, and then you've got 2 rotational ends and Fowler Jr. and Dorrance Armstrong. So kind of out of that list, is there anyone that stands out? We'll start with you, Sammy, and then go down to Jimmy and Landry that stands out that they should make a priority on re-signing.
Okay, so as you guys said, Tony Pollard, because Tony Pollard forever.
For $6 million or less.
Yeah. I also think that big one for me would be Stephon Gilmore. Now I know Diggs is going to come back strong. I think, okay, let me rephrase that. He's going to come back and he will end up being strong, but I don't think. Shame on me. I don't think he's going to start out as strong as everybody's saying. He has a lot to build from being back in the field, coming from that ACL tear. So Stephon Gilmore would be another, back leg for him. I think he really proved a lot. He loves to be with us. I think he should stay with us. Now the others, I hate to admit it. Now you guys are way more pros at this than I am. So the linebackers and stuff, I cannot give my opinion on. The only one that
Devin
sticks
White.
out.
Okay.
I was gonna say Willie Gay. At being in Kansas, I do watch a lot of Chiefs football. I think he is very energetic, explosive on and off the field. So I would like to see him come on, but that's about all I have for you. I'm so sorry. I can't give you more than that.
All right,
I have a
Jimmy,
question, Sammy,
yeah,
based on your mother being a Chiefs fan. So all of the attention they've gotten, not only from the Super Bowls, but this year with Taylor Swift. Is she a T-Swift fan? Is she, what's the...
So me and her kind of have the same opinion on that. We don't listen to Taylor Swift. I am not a Swiftie. Do not, no. But I think that everybody going crazy about her being there, what she does to the team is just stupid. She is there for Travis. She's there to support him as any of us would be if, people were there for us. I mean, I just think she's a person trying to be a person. The attention on her is a little insane. I mean, she's on there, 30 seconds a game total? Give it a break. Let her celebrate. Let her be her. But I don't know. I could honestly care less about her.
Okay, we're going to clip the part where you say you don't care about Taylor Swift at all.
Sorry.
Throw it out to the internet version.
Great headline. Yeah.
Yeah, I'll get shamed for that.
Yeah, the Swifties will take you down.
Oh, yeah.
All right, Jimmy, get any of those internal free agents that you've got to keep.
And for me, you'd like to bring a majority of it back. I think Tyron, because even at 80%, he's like the best left tackle in football. I mean, Tyron Smith is too good at what he does at the important position he plays to not go ahead and bring back. Even if you think you want to spend high capital on an offensive lineman and a possible, future left tackle, whether it be moving Tyler there, drafting a pure tackle, whatever you do there, even if you spend high capital, bring Tyron back. Figure out how to get that deal done, because he knows that he's not going to beat any team over the head with a 5-year huge deal, right? He's going to get paid for a year or two. He might get a 1 year, 1 option type deal, maybe a 2 in and 1 option. It's not going to be a long-term contract, and it's not going to be $20+ million a year. It's not going to be outrageous. So you have to bring him back on a 1-year deal. And then outside of him, and that being my must, Neville. I think Neville Gallimore had way too good and way too many flashes this season to not want to get a deal with him done. And he's another position and player where I think he's not going to go out there and land some top dollar. So you can still, once you get these extensions done, he can be brought back. So those are the two for me.
Yeah, I'd like to see both of at least one or both of the defensive tackles, because I'm still talking about drafting one, and that's without the estimation that both of the two that I like, or 2 of the 3 that I like that we have are on the block here in free agency. So certainly one of the 2 of them. Jordan Lewis's versatility, and I feel like is the right price. He's one I'd have to re-sign. Gilmore, I don't know about what the situation would be. How many years you'd be looking to sign him. But if it was anything close to what we just paid him, I'd love to see another year or two of that. I think Dorrance Armstrong, Tyler Biadasz are two that might be two that go by the wayside. I think Dorrance is going to cost too much, and Tyler Biadasz might be the right decision if we can draft one, or even just trade him out for some other free agent center. Like I said, I'm not to the point where I'm looking at that type of availability, but so.
And kind of with that being said about the center, and I'd kind of like to get y'all's thoughts on this one. When it comes to Biadasz heading out, some people think we may already have a guy in house like a Bass and a Hoffman. Where do you guys land on that one?
I would be worried if that's our starting center going into next year. Personally, I think a guy like Jackson Powers Johnson can come in and be an immediate impact starter. For sure. That would just worry me. I think Jackson Powers Johnson is the guy who could come in and have an effect like Travis Frederick did when they took him towards the end of the first round.
I've never heard someone like JPJ's gotten more hype. Every single team has mentioned like we want Jackson Powers Johnson.
Every team.
I haven't heard of one team that's not like mouth watering over that guy, drooling over him. So that'll be interesting to see where he ends up because everyone wants him. I don't know. So here's going to be, I'll give you my 2 cents, and it's not going to be super knowledgeable just because I don't know what type of contracts they're asking for and what you guys can spend right now. But someone like Hankins, I felt like he was a big part of that interior line. I don't know. Is he going to go out there and look to get paid, Shane? Is that someone that's going to be able to come back and be on that interior?
I really do think one of the two between Gallimore or Hankins will be back. It'll probably just come down to a cost perspective, but one of those guys will come back, trying to figure out, is Mozzie Smith still have potential, or are we looking at the next Tristan Hill? That's a failed defensive tackle pick. I
like Mozzie. I think he'll be all right. And then what about Curse? Obviously, that's a guy that, you see him all over the field. Is he someone that can come back as well?
Me personally, no, this is just something stupid. I feel like when he got switched to Kelvin Joseph's number one, it cursed him. I feel like he did better the year before, but last year was, I don't know, just wasn't him that I'm used to out there.
You're right. It definitely wasn't Curse's best year. For me, on him, he's a guy that he's a locker room guy, right? Everybody loves his energy. Look,
that's it.
Yes. So what he brings to the kind of the core of our group and what everybody's used to, and kind of the energy that we've been going off of these last few seasons, he's kind of a big part of that in that defensive room. So, and again, I don't know, with a plethora of safeties in the league right now, don't know if he can actually go out and get a whole lot of money. So be interested to see kind of what we offer him. I definitely think we're going to have something on paper to put in front of all these guys, but there's a couple of them that are in position needs for other teams that maybe have a little more money that'll say, well, we can do $4 more million than that. Now here's where the Cowboys kind of win in these kind of situations, right? Because while you can go get $3 or $4 more million a year, possibly, or maybe $5 million, total money more on a 3-year deal, taxes here are lovely. So sometimes the money just ends up being the same anyway. So we'll see.
Yeah, that's a great point.
Okay, as we wrap up here, guys, I know it's very, very early, and we've done shows earlier this season. We do our very early fantasy rankings. So I know we have not hit free agency. We have not hit the draft. But, I just would like to get all three of yours a very early initial outlook for this year. What do you think you're looking at kind of record-wise, where they go in the playoff wise? They're playing the AFC North this year, and they've got some one-off teams like Houston they'll play. So the North is, that's a tougher division that they'll be playing. But we'll start on the right, Landry, with you. What you think your initial record prediction is going to be for Dallas this year?
Yeah, from right here where we stand, without seeing anything from the new coaching staff and all the things you described, the same team that it's been for 3 or 4 years, they're going to be competitive. They will likely make the playoffs. They'll probably win the division. They'll be good at home, and when they can learn how to win on the road and against better teams. It's culture. It's some other things that have to change to get over the hump. I would almost tell you 12-4 right now, or 12-5 right now.
Okay, Jimmy.
And I couldn't predict a result past that because
I'm right that it depends on a little bit, right? So if we don't load up, this all in term, right? We thought adding Brandon Cooks and Stephon Gilmore last year were like close to all in moves, right? Like for what the Cowboys had done previously off season wise, those were two pretty astounding moves. Like, okay, we fixed two positions of need and we got like two names. Like we went and got some guys, some Pro Bowlers and previous champions even. So if we can duplicate that again in positions of need, and get a couple more guys this free agency and continue to draft as well as we have, and you can tell me that obviously Trevon Diggs is coming back. So if we're able to retain Gilmore, Diggs, and we've got Bland there, and now we can run the ball a little better and stop the run a little better, well then, like I said, I think we can improve by a win. So I really feel like we can move to 13 wins with Zimmer bringing a little bit different of a defensive scheme. We're going to surprise and shock a few teams as far as what we do because Quinn had been with us for a while now. So there were some coaches out there that had Quinn's number, right? And I think that's what Landry was alluding to earlier with he was glad Quinn was gone. There's some metrics out there that show that there's some coaches that just beat up on Dan Quinn as a defensive coordinator. And I think that's what we saw in the games where we just got handled. So I really think we can improve to 13. And I think winning the NFC is going to be key. I don't want anybody burnt out. I don't. So, and I know that's, we all hate hearing that, but the bye week can be important. I don't know if the home field on the road matters. We went on the road last year and tore Tampa, not the year before last, and tore Tampa Bay up. And then we're home this year and got tore up. So I don't know if that matters where it's played. The road to the Super Bowl going through AT&T would be nice. That just means maybe we get to go see a couple playoff games because I'm not traveling out of state. But so I think we can improve by one win, and I think that that has to be the best record in the NFC if we're going to even make the conference championship game and give ourselves a possible pass to the Super Bowl. We have to be the 1 seed. That's kind of where I sit.
All right. Well, you guys are a little more optimistic than me.
Perfect.
I hope we have another 12-win season. I mean, obviously, I want nothing but the best, but I'm a little fearful for what we continue to bring to the team. So I'm going to at least maybe say 10-7. I think we're still going to have a winning record, but I think, I don't know, as I brought back earlier, the Jerry Jones going all in really has me nervous. I feel like we're going to, with that, take a couple steps back before we're able to go forward again. Now, I don't know much of what Mike Zimmer does or what he can bring to the table. I'm very hopeful for it. I'm hopeful that McCarthy made a few changes and that we can go forward. And I don't know, do not hate me. I think we're going to just kind of be stuck where we've been. A miracle will happen. We can go farther, but I'm not expecting too much.
All three of those predictions
give
the same result. All three of those predictions put us in the playoffs with no one talking about what's going to change in the playoffs. That's all that matters to me at this point as a Cowboy fan.
Yeah.
10, 12, and 13 don't matter with first round exits. So,
I think Dak's going to take a team-friendly deal. The Cowboys are going to sign Derrick Henry and Tony Pollard. They're going to sign Willie Gay, Devin White. Patrick Queen is going to take a 2-year deal. We're going 17-0 and on our way.
Dude, and we're going to be in Cabo in August with every running back in the NFL.
Yeah, RBU. Yeah, that's right. Me and Jimmy J and I are actually going to be the first ever positional exclusive agents in the NFL.
That's right. The position agent. That's right. Somebody's got to do it.
Yeah,
it must be done.
Shane,
I'll talk to him. We'll get it rolling.
Yeah, Shane, what do you got?
So I have two concerns. One, the only concern I have about Zimmer is it gives me a little bit of Mike Nolan vibes, where he has been out of coaching now for a couple years. That concerns me a little bit. He's not been he can give the Mike McCarthy answer where I've been down in the basement and watching films, watching games, and doing all the analytics. But it's different than calling plays. So that concerns me a little bit. I do believe the defense he will run is a bend but don't break defense. So it's not a take chances, which is what Quinn's defense does. So there could be some value and not a big drop off on the defensive side. I think people are going to assume that. I'm going to go off of history and just say they don't win the division because we haven't had a repeat division winner in 19 years straight, something like that. So I don't know. I'll say they don't win the division, but I still think, and like Landry said, I still think they're at 11 wins, and it's not as big of a deal whether if they go on the road or if they're home that first game. So I think they're in the playoff. I think that is the value of signing Dak Prescott is you don't have chaos at the most important position. You are not the Washington Commanders or the Raiders who are constantly looking for something at that position. You've got something there at coach and quarterback, which is consistent and should put you in playoff contention every year.
Every year,
yeah. I think. Go ahead.
Well, I was just going to say that, I got to give my hats off to Cowboys fans in general. You guys, every year, regardless of what happens the year prior, like this is our year. We're going to get over that hump, regardless of what the history says. And me as a Bears fan, I have become bitter. It's one of those things where you're like, all right, you can hope. But
there's a difference. They're in the playoffs every year. You're not even looking.
I'm not comparing
like week 6.
I'm not comparing apples to apples. I'm just saying, as a fandom, I give you guys props because every year, regardless of what happens, you think you're going to get over that hump, which I think happens this year. I really do. Looking at the division, and I know, like Shane said, it hasn't happened in 19 years, but I think this is the year that you guys are going to be a repeat divisional winners. The Eagles are kind of in shambles right now. They're getting rid of.
Love to see it.
Yeah, Jason Kelsey's retiring. Probably, I don't know if that's an official statement or not.
That's going to clean up their penalties a lot, though.
Absolutely, but Coach Sirianni just seemed to have lost the locker room this year. So going into this next year, I think winning the division, that optimism is at an all-time high for me. And I think the Cowboys can really get it done, building off the success they had from last year and making the right moves to win a Super Bowl. So,
no, you're right. It definitely does feel like the year that we can. That was going to say that the Eagles aren't going to be that threat that we felt. I mean, they're going to be a good roster. It's not like they're fixing to lose half their guys or anything. They're going to be a good roster. They're going to be a good football team. They'll win 10 or 11 games as well. I really think, like I said, because with Zimmer, and this is what I was going to say just a second ago, I think our fascination with him and the reason we brought him in, his track record against Shanahan type offenses and type run schemes that we tend to struggle with. And so when you have a problem stopping a certain type of run game and a problem with having run stoppers on the field, if we bring both of those things together, let's hire some run stoppers, let's bring in Zimmer with this scheme and fix that issue. I'm telling you, if we already know we were a heavy front running team, if we can keep teams from running for 150 on us, we're going to be even harder to beat. I don't think the offense, even if you don't bring Cooks back, our offense isn't going to be much different than it was last year. Even if we don't really fix the running game, our offense was still. Listen, Dak and CD are your offense. I mean, those guys are just too good. They together are going to make everybody else be able to get some love and work. Our offense is going to be good enough, especially at home. So,
yeah, the one guy I forgot that you guys are going to sign is Mike Evans. That's going to be the one that comes in.
Well, then we're winning the Super Bowl.
So here's real talk. I kind of agree with Truck on a lot of what he said. One thing is I'm not worried about Zimmer at all. I think Zimmer's a football guy. That's someone who he knows football more than almost anyone, period. He's a Belichick level of football guy. So year 2 off, whatever it is, he knows his style of football so well. You remember those teams in Minnesota, you used to be scared to go into Minnesota and play football because that defense was awesome. So just establishing that type of tenacity, something the Cowboys really haven't, like, they were, in my mind, they were never a scary defense, even when they were playing good. It was more like very turnover. They were
You
kind
just
of
didn't
like,
want to be down 14 is all.
right. And they would, like,
if you were level with them, you weren't scared of them. Yeah.
right. So but they would just, what I'm trying to say was a bend not break, in that they took a lot of risks and caused turnovers, right? Like, that was their style. Zimmer will punch you in the fucking mouth. So he's
right.
gonna, you're gonna still have those playmakers, but he is the type of guy that is going to beat you up. He's gonna have them, gang tackling and just being all over the field. So that's exciting as a Cowboys fan. What I agree with Truck is that the Eagles completely imploded. I think there's a lot of doubt with Sirianni, but I also, from the rumor mill, there was a potential internal affair with some players and players' wives that went on there that kind of blew things up. And I think it may have to do with AJ Brown, and that's why he may no longer be with the team this offseason. So if there's any truth to that, you're going to see one of those stars gone. So I think that's something to look out for. I believe AJ Brown will be gone, and that's losing one of your top playmakers. Now, I do think they're going to bring in one of these running backs, I would say, unless they can get your boy Bucky Irving, which you'll flip the script on how you feel about him pretty quickly if he's in Eagles colors. But it's either going to be Bucky or it's going to be, they're going to sign someone there. But, they have to basically restart. They're lucky that they have, a lot to build off of. And so that could be a pretty quick rebound. That being said, like, look what Shane Steichen's done with Gardner Minshew at quarterback. He is a huge part of that offense. So you saw him miss, and they really hurt from that. So I think Cowboys win the division and make the playoffs. And like you said, Jimmy, being the 1 seed is going to be huge for them to ever get over the hump to the NFL.
It really will.
Or to the Super Bowl, because we know the Niners will be back, and some of these young teams are just getting better. To be honest, like, we've been talking about the Bears, and I'm not a very Homer Bear kind of guy, but I think Caleb Williams is that good. So they're going to be coming up in the division here pretty soon. Jordan Love building off of another huge season. So the NFC is going to be a lot more competitive. So the Dallas, knowing that they play so well at home and playing that, front running type football at home for them is going to be huge. And I think they're going to have a lot of success this year. So go Cowboys.
Let's go. So I got to ask you guys real quick, being Bears fans, were the letting go of Fields pretty much knowing you got Williams coming into the building, or did you guys, that's something y'all wanted? You happy with that, or was that a no for you?
I'll go ahead and start. For me, if it was my decision and I was in the front office, I would have kept Fields, and I would have traded the pick, and I would have gotten a haul, and I could have built a team for the next decade with all the pieces around him. Now, I do think regardless of which way you go, we're in a better spot. Taking Caleb Williams, a possible generational, a franchise quarterback. We don't know. We haven't seen him in the NFL yet. All indications are pointing yes, he is. So either way, I think we're in a good spot, and I'm happy with whatever decision we make. Me personally, I would have kept Fields and built around him and gone from there.
Gotcha.
Yeah. So I think that they are in a situation where they could have success either way. I think Truck would not have a job next year if he makes that decision. I think Caleb Williams is that good. He's going to be a top 5 quarterback in the NFL. He's going to be a top 3 quarterback in the NFL. He really is that good. His arm is that good. Now, I'm not making that draft pick unless I sit him in a room and I have all these conversations. I put him through a psych eval. I have that interview with him, because he needs to be that leader, like those Dak type of leadership qualities, those Joe Burrow type leadership qualities.
Mm-hmm.
You don't have success at a high level without that. But his arm talent alone is, I mean, he's day one. He's going to be one of the most talented players in the NFL.
Yeah, for me, a decision like that is tough. And it really, I guess, you have to be in that front office and know how you really feel about Justin Fields, because it can be less about what you project Caleb Williams to truly be, and more about what the lack of what you think Justin Fields is going to be for you. So, which it's curious to see kind of, or to know what the front office is thinking as far as this is where we want to go. Fields doesn't offer it for us, or we just really the Fields project, we hate it now and we just want to get off of it, period. So
he's 10-28 as a starting quarterback. Does that make you feel
tough.
good?
Now,
one other thing that we had Josh Larkey with the 33rd team. Well, formerly with the 33rd team, we had him on a couple weeks ago, and he said something where he goes, if you have a quarterback that has started for 3 years and you're still wondering if he's a franchise quarterback, he's not a franchise quarterback.
It's time to move off.
I loved that. And it's not only that you have to pay him, it's
right.
So here's how you win in the NFL. I think it's pretty obvious right now. You have a franchise quarterback, a guy that regardless who's around him is going to be in the playoff conversation every year. Or you have you're building, you have that rookie contract and you're using that money to build assets around him, like the Rams did with Jared Goff, like the
Eagles just did,
like the Eagles just did, like the Purdy had just did with the 49ers. Like Purdy's not a guy that without McCaffrey, Debo, Ayuk, Trent Williams, like he's just not a guy that has success without George Kittle, with all those guys around him and then everyone on defense. So you have to get the guy on the rookie contract, or a guy who's just going to be an absolute all-star quarterback and regardless who's around him, he's going to be in the playoff contention. Like that's why the Texans have this window here where like they're going to be able to spend money on Saquon this year. They're going to be able to spend money. They have a guy in Stroud who is that franchise guy. I think he'll be there. He'll be in the conversation for the next 10 years, and you have him on a rookie contract. So that's the opportunity you have in front of you with Caleb. Now, is he going to be that guy? No one knows until he's on the field. From an arms talent alone, he's the best we've seen in a long time. So to me, it's a no-brainer.
Jamarcus Russell was one of the best anybody'd ever seen. Arm
well,
everyone loves bringing up Jamarcus Russell.
He was also addicted to liquid codeine, and I think you could probably pick up on that in an interview when he's just sitting back and his eyes are closed in the interview. So,
Jamarcus Russell was something else.
Yeah.
No, it's just on everybody's over there in love. I'm missing the Caleb Williams boat. I don't know what makes him different from the Knicks, number one pick quarterback. So.
Yeah,
I'm a Penix guy in this draft as far as quarterbacks goes.
I would be too.
Penix is I don't know. And it was something I saw with Stroud. Everybody kept putting Bryce Young, of just like, I'm not an evaluator or anything like that. I'm not an NFL scout, but I shouted it all off season long. CJ Stroud's the best quarterback in this draft. Like, it's not even close. Like, he's by far, like, he's the only one I saw going, yeah, put him on an NFL team. He's ready. There is a couple. Caleb Williams is close. I'm a little more toward where you're at with him than maybe Landry is. But for me, I look at Penix and I go, well, just a couple little cleanup things and give this guy any kind of NFL offense. That's what I see. So
yeah, he's 25. He's had really bad injuries, and if you pressure him, that's where that's where he kind of falls off. So his arm, I mean, you saw the game against Texas. He played an absolutely perfect game of football.
Yeah.
So, if you can do that every game, then yes. But, he is 25. He does have a lot of bad injuries. And then, if you pressure
he seemed to play his best in the bigger games, though, not necessarily under pressure. Like you said, when you get pressure on him, you can affect him. And I think that's half the quarterbacks in the league, right? I mean, when you look in the NFL, that can be the difference in what makes a top 16 or a bottom 16 quarterback is the how you perform once the pressure gets there, because in today's football the pressure is going to get there. So yeah, he's one of those that you definitely need to put behind a solid offensive line.
Yeah, he's my least favorite. Well, not least favorite. I don't like Bo Nix either, but I think Penix is going to struggle because he needs to be in the exact right system, which is really hard to beat. It was just really hard to find.
Okay, I got a question for you guys. You guys seen Draft Day, right? The movie?
Yeah. Of course.
Okay, what was the prospect's name?
Bo Callahan.
That's Bo Nix for me. That's Bo Nix for me. It really is. That's that's the guy you're getting. That's who you drafted.
Okay.
Love it. Well, I think this was an awesome conversation, guys, and lady. Sorry for that. But we, we had a great time. We're going to be reaching back out and having you on, maybe after free agency to talk about some of the moves made. Certainly before the season to get we like to do the divisional recaps and things of that nature, so we can kind of, hype up the Cowboy fan base heading into the season. But if you guys are open to that, but
absolutely, man.
Go for it. Sorry.
Oh, okay. I was going to say absolutely, and thanks so much for having us on and even considering us and hitting us up, and thank you for all the kind words that you said about me and the opening thing. I wrote them all down right here, electric and things like that. So I appreciate the love. We're definitely open to coming back. And we're gonna start rolling out some episodes of kind of our show soon. And what we'll do, what kind of our game plan is to kind of, without giving too much away, is it'll be like a pre-recorded show. We're gonna put together a show, an entertainment show for fans, and we'll also have some people on to do some things and help out with it. So.
Awesome.
We'll definitely be reaching out to you guys.
Yeah, keep us posted. We'll be looking out for your content, absolutely. But yeah, I mean, I thought this episode was great. We've been getting more into cutting up shorts and things like that, so we'll get some good short videos that we'll send your way. You can promote them out as well. But had a blast. Looking forward to collaborating in the future as well. And we're going to be rolling out some listener leagues this year. So hopefully we can get you guys, if you want to join a fantasy league or two. We're going to have a few different league settings. We'll reach out and hopefully get you in a league. And I think we'll probably do once a week on Thursday in season, talking about the different leagues of, just a community we've created over Twitter and just in general around football. So.
Outstanding.
All right. Well, thank you everybody for watching, listening. Please like the video, subscribe to the channel. Go check out the Star We Are on Twitter. All their individual tags are right here in the graphic. We got Slam and Sammy, Jimmy J's Hair, and Landry's Legend. So make sure you guys go check them out. And other than that, everybody knows what to do. Go ahead.
Sometimes I come in and say one last word.
Sometimes.
Yeah.
He does all the time.
If Tony Pollard ends up on another team, we may see Slam and Sammy on a different podcast promoting.
It'll be Shambles Sammy.
Yeah, no. Yeah. That's not gonna happen though. Just saying.
No.
Okay.
But,
all right.
buckle up.
Yeah, buckle up, everybody.